Hello, I'm Liselle Sambury and welcome to this very special writing vlog. Today is not actually the writing vlog day. This is one day before, but I had to do this beforehand for reasons. I will explain everything. Give me 1 second. Essentially, this is a very special writing vlog because I did a video, I believe last week, where I tier ranked writer habits. I'm gonna say this is the right spot, and if it isn't, I'm sorry, maybe it's over here. I haven't been great with pointing lately. But anyway, that's where that video is that you can watch. And I tier ranked a bunch of writer habits. There were actually 24 of them. And I thought it would be fun to randomize 5 of these habits and do a 24-hour writing vlog where the entire day that I am doing my regular writing routine, instead of doing my regular writing routine, I will do a writing routine including those 5 things that I randomized. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to do the random choosing of what those are going to be. And I'm doing it today because one of them is like early morning writer, and so I need to do it today in case I have to wake up really early tomorrow. So that's why I'm doing this ahead of time. So I have my computer here. There's 24 habits, and so I've basically just set it up to generate. And so let's go ahead and randomly pick 5. So here we go. And if you should also check out that video if you want to see which of these I don't do and don't like doing, in case I get them. So let's go ahead here. So first number is 11. 11 is, I have my laptop here, that's what I'm looking at. Sprints for life. So I'm going to have to do writing sprints. Okay, I should write down what these are somewhere. And second one, number 7. Number 7 is aesthetic making. So I guess I'm going to make an aesthetic for whatever project I'm working on. I will show you that aesthetic too. So aesthetic making. Okay. Aesthetics, if you don't know what like a book aesthetic is, it's like a collage of pretty pictures that like encapsulate the vibe of your book. So that's what aesthetic making is. And let's generate our third one, number 6. It's really sticking to tight. Listening to music. Okay. Okay. I will listen to music, I guess. I usually write in complete silence, but I guess I'm going to be listening to music. So listening to music. We'll see how well that turns out. 2 more to go. 21. 21 is lock your phone. So usually I don't do that. I let myself do whatever I want on my phone, but I guess I'm going to be locking my phone. So maybe I'll use like the Forest app or something. And the last one, I'll tell you what I really don't want this to be. I really don't want it to be the early morning writer. I really don't want to have to wake up super early. I just don't. So let's see. Number 5. What is number 5? Okay. I'm so scared. Number 5 is tea lover, which I am. So that works out for me. So that is the randomized writer routine that I'm going to be doing tomorrow. So sprints, so I have to do writing sprints, aesthetic making, so I'm going to have to make an aesthetic, listening to music, so I'll have to listen to music whenever I write, locking my phone, so I must lock my phone whenever I am writing, so I cannot look at it and touch it and stuff. And then tea lover, so I get to drink tea, which I would have done anyway, so at least there's that for me. So yeah, that's the introduction of this writing vlog. And so tomorrow we're gonna jump straight into working. So I am supposed to be, what was I gonna be doing? So I'm not sure. So I might have copy edits coming in. I might not. So if copy edits come in, I'm going to have to do copy edits. But if not, I'm going to be working on figuring out a revision plan for my adult horror thriller, The Newlyweds. My agent got back to me with her notes like a while ago. And so I've found myself with some free time this month, and so I've decided to fill it by going over all of her revision notes and trying to plan what I'm going to do next, because they were pretty extensive notes, and so I might have to do some restructuring. So I really gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with that. So I will see you tomorrow for the 24-hour writing vlog.
Hello. It's 10:20 a.m., which honestly, given the way I've been in the last little while, is pretty much when I managed to drag myself out of bed to do work. I haven't needed to be super strict with myself lately, honestly. It's kind of just been fine to do this. So anyway, I'm about to do these revisions. Or the revision plan. So my first step is I want to reread over everything my agent sent me in terms of notes. There's a lot of things to consider and a lot of things I have to really think about. And I just kind of quickly read over what she had when she first sent it to me. And so my plan is I want to get everything arranged and ready and basically figure out what it is that I want to do. And then I had told her that when I figured that out, I would set up a call with her and we could chat about it. So we'd probably set up the call later on in March. She's on maternity leave right now, so that gives me a lot of time to work on figuring out what I'm gonna do. So that's the plan. So today I think I'm just gonna read over everything and make notes on it, and then tomorrow I'll look at the outline that I have, I guess, and start to figure out what I'm gonna do. So yeah, that's the goal of today. So it's a pretty good thing to be working on, to try out a different routine, but some of this stuff is gonna be difficult and make it kind of annoying. So the sprinting, I have to do sprints today. That is not usually how I work on revision notes. I just work on it for however long. But considering the fact that I need to lock my phone and I'm not even allowed to look at it, in this case, it's actually really good because it's really good because I usually don't do that. I usually look at my phone and do whatever I want. And so the sprints will actually be good because then I'll get a break to do that. So I guess it'll work out. The music will probably be distracting. I don't know if I should play people play lo-fi music and stuff, but I don't like listening to that. So I feel like I would rather just play my music. But then I'm that's obviously going to distract you. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. But anyway, so I'm going to write, I guess I'm going to work from now until lunchtime until 12, I think, or maybe slightly before 12. We have to go to the hardware store to pick up a bunch of stuff. So my boyfriend's coming back at lunch and we're supposed to do that. So I may just have to end slightly before. If I need to change, will I change though? No, I'll probably wear my sweatpants. It's a small town. I don't care. So I'll probably wear my sweatpants. So maybe I will just go out of this. And then what else am I supposed to do? Oh, tea and aesthetic making. So I don't feel like having tea right now, so I'll probably have some in the afternoon. And then I guess I'll also make an aesthetic for this book in the afternoon. I actually haven't made an aesthetic for this book at all. Just because, I just had it. So it'll be good. I'll be able to make an aesthetic that I haven't made before. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on working on that. And I will check in with you, I guess, either at lunch or shortly before lunch. I'm checking in with you. It is 11:47. So I did the sprints. I got the Forest app. I didn't realize it was a paid app. And then I was like, Liselle, you're really gonna pay $6 for an app that you may just use right now and potentially never again because it is more aesthetic? And the answer was yes. And I will be writing it off as a business expense. So, how has this gone? So, you know what? I did enjoy listening to the music while I worked because it distracted me from the crushing anxiety of going through these notes. You know what it is? So these notes that my agent has given me, they're fantastic notes. They're very, very good. And a lot of them are really picking up on things that I was concerned about with this story. So this story has a midpoint twist. And the thing about this midpoint twist is that once it happens, it changes the entire way that you look at the whole of the story that came before and everything that came after. And it does resolve some things that you may have noticed in the beginning of the story. And something very, astute that my agent pointed out is she's like, I'm worried that, readers and editors trying to get to this point are going to think that the things that are kind of, set up in the beginning to this twist, that they're going to think that's some sort of failing of the story because they stand out. And I think... Man, the thing with doing these fucking sprints is I reached a point where I was like, I'm done working on this now. But then the sprint was still going. So then I was like, oh fuck. So I guess I have to just continue working on it. So that was painful. But the amount of things that are coming up with this story that I'm realizing are not working, it's just I'm looking at it all and I'm just these can't be fixed. And what I mean by these can't be fixed is trying to fix all these things that are coming up is not going to fix the story. It's just as I'm going through these, I'm very, very much having the sense that I need to just rewrite this whole thing. Yeah, I need to rewrite it. There's just going through these notes, there's too many missteps. There's too many things to fix. And it's just kind of looking at it, I don't think the story as it is now is going to be fixed. I think the entire thing needs to be rewritten. And that is causing me a tremendous amount of anxiety. Because of course the plan was, I'll look at the notes and then I'll come up with a revision plan in 2 days. And then, next month I can go ahead and I can revise that. And that's just the way I'm going through these notes, I'm just it's not going to happen. It's really not going to happen. I will say when betas read this, very much loved it. We're really excited about it. And that's awesome. And I'm not discounting the excitement that my beta readers had. But I do think these things that my agent is bringing up are things that I was concerned about because I felt like they would be brought up by readers in general. And so I do feel these are things that very much need to be addressed. But I just feel the way that I have this story now, the way it is, it's just it's not going to work. I'm going to continue. I'm still not done going through the notes. So I'm going to continue that in the afternoon. I'm going to have to finish going through the notes. But I think the final conclusion is I'm going to have to rewrite this entire book. Which for me, I've never with a project had to rewrite it, because usually what happens when I realize a project is so beyond that I have to rewrite it, I drop it. I drop the story. So that's why I never end up having to rewrite it, because I just give up and I stop. And I don't know if it's because I gave up on the first adult horror that I did, that I just like the idea of giving up on a second adult horror is just like so beyond that I can't fathom it. And I can't make myself be okay with it. But I do feel like there are very good parts of this story. So with the Newlyweds, like I think the main character, I think her whole thing is quite strong, and I'm pleased with that. I think the male lead, I'm quite pleased with him. The midpoint twist, I just think it really has to be adapted and fixed because it's got big problems and it's creating a lot of issues in the story. And I just think it needs to be adapted differently. And I like, I have a second POV. I added that second POV in my most recent edit. I really like that second POV. And I really like the dynamic of that second POV of her workplace. So she's got this sort of dynamic in her workplace, and I really liked that. And so I think those are things I can carry over, but I do feel like at this point, it's a rewrite. I think it's gonna have to be a rewrite.
Okay, I made the aesthetic. I will stand here and I will put it here on the screen. Some of the images on there, you know, there's a black woman, a black man, there's some flowers, there's some tropical beach location stuff, there's some wedding motifs, there's some wedding rings, there's some surveillance cameras, things like that. So
editing Liselle once again. I forgot to mention that, so the Newlyweds is originally set in like a fictional small town in Ontario. I don't know if I ever mentioned that, but anyway, I made this aesthetic more based on how I plan to rewrite the Newlyweds. And so I'm thinking that what setting I'll go with is that I'll actually go back to the original setting that I had in 6 Days and 5 Nights, which was like resort in Thailand. I was playing around with that idea, and so that's why there's like tropical motifs in it's pictures from Thailand. That's why they're in the aesthetic, because I made the aesthetic more based on what I plan to do in the rewrite. Just wanted to say that quick because I meant to say it here and then I got distracted rambling and I never said it.
What did I do during that time? So I went to look at the notes, and as I was looking at the notes, I was like, these are all very specific to this book I have here. And now that I've resolved that I'm going to rewrite this, I was like, this isn't supremely relevant to me right now. It was really things that like my agent had already put into the general email feedback. So it was just kind of reiterating what was in there and reiterating the things that were wrong with the things that, not that are wrong with it, but like the things that aren't quite working or hitting, that I was planning to fix by doing this rewrite anyway. So I was like, okay, I actually don't need to do all this. But the timer for the sprint was still going. So then I decided to use my time to make the aesthetic that you just saw. So that was fun. I do really like when the aesthetic is done and stuff. Like, it is really cute. I always like what I come up with, and it's like nice to have that to look at. So yeah, so the final line on the Newlyweds is, I feel very confident in my feeling that I'm going to rewrite this. I don't know when that's going to happen, just because in 2022, shocking to me, I ended up with a much more full schedule than I expected. It'll kind of depend on what happens with my Canada Arts grant. So if I'm approved for the grant to write my dark academia, I'm gonna focus on that instead for two reasons. For one, I have to write it. I'm now being paid by the government to write it. And two, because that was something I had thought about wanting to present as my option for like my next sort of book deal thing. And so I wanted to get that down and like have that ready, because my YA stuff is like what I'm actually actively publishing right now. And so to me, it seems better to focus on that in the end. And I have, some more time and things like that to work on it. So I'll know the decision on that grant by the end of this month. So if I'm approved for it, then I will probably not work on the Newlyweds until next year. I will probably actually apply for a new grant to work on this rewrite. I originally got the grant to work on this project, but I'm pretty sure I can apply to it's not really the same project. Like, I'm doing a complete rewrite, so it would become a new project. So I'm pretty sure I can apply to work on that one. So yeah, if I got approved this year, then next year I would apply to have that be my Canada Arts Grant project for the next year. And if I didn't get approved, then I would probably just, I don't know what I would do if I didn't get approved. Maybe I would work on I might work more towards a proposal and like a first act of the Dark Academia maybe, and then also work on the Newlyweds rewrite. I'm not really sure what I would do, because it's true, I do want to have kind of something ready for my option, but for your option you just need to submit, that sort of like proposal. I was just gonna write the whole thing because it seemed to work better for the grant. So I guess we'll see how that all works out, but it's all very up in the air right now, so I'm just gonna kind of shove it aside. But I'm glad that I took this time today to sit down, and this actually worked really well as like a 24-hour vlog, because I really only needed 24 hours to work on this and work through everything and decide that I was gonna rewrite this. And then I'm basically gonna be taking a break from it for the rest of the week, so this really ended up working really well. It's like a one-day vlog, even though this wasn't like a full 24 hours. I just mean like a day. So that's kind of that. Two exciting things happened literally in the span of time that I was doing this. That's publishing. I got the finalized cover for Butcher Birds. Has a different title. I worked very hard not to say it just now. So I got the finalized cover for that. That's really exciting, and they're gonna have the full jacket ready for Friday. So I'm gonna get to see a draft of the full jacket soon. So that'll be really, really exciting. And I've heard about some tentative dates, but I won't say now because they're tentative, for when it might be coming out in 2023. So that was cool and exciting. I'm glad to have something finalized. It like gives me a good like feeling inside to be like, okay, we're done with that, we finalized it. And then I also got a timeline for a project that I'm working on. What shall I call it? Let's just say a secret project that I'm working on. This one is a novel, not a short story, so a secret project thing that I'm working on anyway. So the contract for that came in, so hopefully that'll be announced soon-ish, and then I won't have to call it a secret project anymore. So I got the contract for that, and we've been given the timeline for that, so I was able to shift around my work and things like that, which was really helpful because I'm really trying to plan out timelines, but some things were still up in the air, and that was one of those things. And then the Canada Arts Grant, I think, is the last thing. Well, no, I have one more I think that's pretty well done. I have one more secret thing, but I think it's pretty like down pat, so I won't worry about that one. But the Canada Arts Grant is the only other thing that's like up in the air that I need to figure out to have the full scope of what I'm going to be doing this year. So that'll be coming soon-ish. And then yeah, so that's all of those things. In terms of like trying out a new writing routine, the music, you know what? Listening to the music was really nice. And because I wasn't doing something that required a ton of thinking on my part, I wasn't bothered by the music, and it was actually like nice. And like I said, it like helped me. I felt like if I was in silence, I would have gotten way more in my head. I would have panicked super hard about the fact that I'm now doing a full rewrite. So the music was actually helpful in that case. So that was good. The sprinting, could have done without. Wished I could have stopped and started when I wanted to, but I did grow some very cute trees in the forest app, so that was fun. Tea I would have done anyway. What else? The aesthetic, yeah, that was fun to do. And then what was the other thing? Oh, locking my phone. That was another one, locking my phone. Yes, because I went hand in hand with the sprinting. That's why I couldn't remember it. Yeah, it was okay. I think the thing was that made it okay for me was that notifications still came in. It was just that I couldn't exit the app to like look at them. So in that case, it was good because, you know, I was made to focus. But at the same time, if I didn't have the sprints, I would have worked continuously during that time period. Instead of like, I really didn't like the breaks. I was like, when I want to work continuously, I want to work continuously. I don't want to have to take breaks. And I think the looking at the phone ends up being micro breaks, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It was totally fine. So yeah, that was my little experiment. I'll have the link below for that tier ranker if you want to do a tier ranking video, or if you want to do something like this and like randomize parts of the writing routines and like create a writing routine for you to try. That could be something fun too, so definitely go for that. I think this was very pleasant. I think when this would have been unpleasant is if I was forced to do that early morning writer one. Like I would have died. I would have been very upset. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!